Great, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Transforming Sibling Rivalry, a fresh approach to sibling spats. In the summer, we could add with another S, summer workshop. I'm Margie Longshore, the founder and executive director of Family Leadership Center. And I'm joined today by Derek Hessler and Laura Ratkovic. We're all with Family Leadership Center, and we're just glad you're here. All the information that we're going to share today is based on Adlerian psychology.
And I just want to quickly introduce myself. I'm Derek Hessler, and along with Margie and Laura, I'm so happy to be here to guide you through this. And wanted to mention that we have a handout for you, and so hopefully you brought that with you, but in case not, Laura was going to pop that into the chat so you would have that information at the ready. And in that spirit, we want to share the vision of the Family Leadership Center.
Yeah, great. So at Family Leadership Center, we believe that a peaceful world starts at home.
We envision a world where all people are empowered to listen.
Oops, Laura, you're on mute.
Yeah. And speak their truth with integrity and confidence.
And the last part is take care of others and themselves with resilience, responsibility, and accountability.
And hold diverse views with respect and compassion.
Great.
And our mission at Family Leadership Center is to educate parents, teachers, and caregivers in principles that encourage young people to lead and contribute to society. So today our topic is sibling rivalry, but in the background of that even is to support you with what you deal with in sibling rivalry, and at the same time be teaching principles that encourage appropriate, valuable, contributive participation both in the family and ultimately out in the world.
So we appreciate that you've carved out time in your schedules to be here today. And we want to make sure that we hold space in the next hour so that by the time this workshop is completed, you will have taken a pause, been able to just reflect a little bit. Sometimes the most value in these kinds of things comes in just putting the pause button and then getting a new view of the situation that you might be in the middle of. So we invite you to do that for the next hour. And then we also invite you, we have this objective that you'll get a chance to clarify and maybe see a dynamic in a new way or see some needs behind the behavior. And the last piece is to practice, because nothing really happens unless we get to put our own words and our own take on it. So we're going to be holding space for you to try some things out. Any questions or concerns about those objectives? Please feel free to put them in the chat. Thanks, Sarah. Go to the next one. All right.
So in a moment, we're going to go into breakout rooms so that in pairs, you can introduce yourselves and start to put words to your hopes and dreams for your children and their relationship with each other. But first, we're going to model what we mean. So Margie, would you be willing to go first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's imagine we're in a breakout room and it's Laura, you, and Dara and me. And I'll just say, oh, sure, I'll start. And I'm Margie. I am sitting in Yarmouth, Maine right now, and I have two kids. They are 15 and 18 years old. And when I think about sibling rivalry and what really motivates me to come to a workshop like this is because I think about my kids having a relationship, like they're the people that will know each other the longest. And I hope that if I'm not around, or even when I'm not in the room, but in the future, if somehow I'm not in the room with them in their lives, that they have a great relationship and that they don't need me to be somehow keeping the peace or keep making it all work or being the center. So how to make our, anyway, that's what drives me in this kind of thing.
That really resonates. Thank you. So then I would share, my boys are 13 and 16 years old, and I'm tuning in from Bethesda, Maryland. And my hope and dream for my guys is that they continue to have that connected and loving energy from that picture that was showing at the beginning of our time together.
And then I guess I would go next and say, my name is Lara. I'm in Durham, North Carolina. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. And my hopes and dreams for this session are just to get them to stop squabbling.
Great. So now we invite
No
you
answer
all.
is wrong answer, right, Margie?
Exactly. It's perfect. You're just right where you are. So we're going to get a chance to get to know each other, and Laura's put us in breakout rooms, and to see you. As people are coming back in, we're going to invite just a couple of people to share anything that came up for them, like what brought them.
I'm happy to share. Okay. My name is, and I have 3 boys. And one of my hopes for this session is just that they become less competitive with each other and just realize that they're each okay just where they are.
Thanks.
Someone in our group shared something interesting about thinking about it in relation to their relationships with their siblings. And I thought that was really neat, not just with our children, but with our own siblings.
Yes. Right, because we never stop. This game doesn't end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dances that we have often continue. We have to work them out. It's nice when we have parents that are really skilled, like we are going to be skilled parents to handle this, but sometimes we don't, and then we get to be skilled engagers.
What a lovely way to look at it. Okay, so now that we've had an opportunity to clarify our hopes and dreams, we're going to invite you to hold this intention as your North Star to let you know if you're on track with what you're doing and to keep you inspired. This idea of our kids living into relationship with each other, stopping the squabbling, being there for each other in perpetuity. So how are we going to get there? Well, we're going to start by looking at the driving forces behind all behavior, and specifically looking at what compels sibling behavior and discord. And then we're going to review some approaches. Perhaps some of them are familiar, maybe some of them will be new to you. And then we'll take some time to practice.
Great.
Oh, sorry, I meant to.
Great. So we have all of these 4 core needs, and they are based, so all of the theory that we present to you, we actually did not dream it up. It's based on Adlerian psychology, and Alfred Adler identified these 4 core needs, and then 2 really amazing women, Betty Lou Bettner and Amy Lou, took those, extrapolated them, and turned them into this thing called the crucial C's. And the crucial C's you see on the left-hand side of the screen, they are connect, capable, count, and courage. So we're going to go through each of those and sort of explain what that means. But essentially, the core idea is that we're all driven by a need to meet these goals. And so everything that we do is purposive towards these, sometimes not consciously, but we're always moving towards meeting these goals. So let's take a peek at them.
So we all have a common need to feel that we are connected. And when this need for connection is met, we believe we belong. We believe that we are worthy of love and belonging, and we feel secure. And when I don't feel a sense of connection, how might I show up? And I know for myself, reflecting back on when I was a kid, I showed up as a teacher's pet. I did everything perfectly, which sort of worked as a kid, but it has not served me in adulthood. And as a recovering perfectionist, I can say that showing up and needing to be perfect isn't terribly useful. On the other hand, I married someone who likes to do silly and annoying things when they want to connect. So think class clown. So those are all different ways, different strategies that we come up with to fulfill this need to connect and feel belonging.
Mm-hmm. And the second need is the need to be capable. We have this need to grow and improve ourselves constantly. Like you learn one thing and it's not enough, you then want to take it to the next step. Like I learned to walk, then I started running, and then I started biking, and then, like it's always one more thing, right? So when I am capable, when I feel capable, my feeling is I'm confident, right? I believe that I can take on things, and I have this, I also don't have a need to always be in charge of everybody. I just feel kind of comfortable and confident and capable and able to show up. When I don't have this feeling, it often looks like I try to be a controller. Like I'm trying to like, I get into power struggles. So it looks like you're not the boss of me. Let me be the boss. Like it's this kind of game. And when you're getting into power struggles, you can see somebody who's looking for, let me feel capable here.
Which brings us to the third C, which is to count. All humans need to have the experience that we matter, that we're significant. And when this need is fulfilled, when the need to be needed is fulfilled, we believe we can make a difference and we are valued. When I don't experience the sense that I count or that I matter, I feel hurt. And I'm often moved to lash out or say or do mean things to make sure that somehow my voice is heard.
And the very last C, so this is of the 4 C's, we've got courage. And that is that I have the courage to get up when I fall down, that I'm hopeful that I can handle whatever comes, and that I can do things that are encouraging to other people when they're in that place. And when I don't have that feeling of courage, it's when you sort of get really quiet and you sort of get afraid, you want to pull the covers over your head and not get up another day and not face things, right? So this is that last one. And if you notice, they all build on each other. So connect is the base and then it keeps building. And as we're thinking about our kids, it's really fun to think, how can I build starting at connect and build up? So we'll be looking at that today.
What we would like to invite you to do now is to consider these 4 C's: feeling connected, feeling capable, feeling counted, feeling courageous. And which one of these would you like to have rain down all over you right now? We'd like to invite you to enter into the chat the core need that you would want to wash all over you and or your family. And so I will connect, capable, counted, or courageous. As you're contemplating and trying that all on for size and entering it into the chat, we're here to remind you that our children have these needs too. And at the root of most sibling rivalry is the need to connect. I'm going to go back to this shot for you.
I know some people are on the phone, Dara, so it's also
okay.
If you want to come off mute and you can't type right now wherever you are, but if you want to say out loud as well, we welcome that.
So Judy, I'm putting it on this slide for you again.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. It's okay.
And we want to look more closely. So we're seeing that people want to feel capable, connected, counted, courageous. And a lot of the sibling rivalry stems from this need to connect. So we want to share what that means.
Yeah. So sibling rivalry often starts at that place of, let me know that I'm seen, that I matter to you. And so here's an interesting scenario. Let's imagine our kids are playing cooperatively. They're getting along, they're being really like engaging, they're creating fun, they're playing a game, they're creating new rules to the game. It's all really fun. You hear little laughs and giggles coming from the room or chuckles coming. And what do we often do when we hear that? Like, just sort of think for a second when that's happening, where do you find yourself going or what do you do? And as we think about that, a lot of times, if you're, I don't know, if you're like me, you think, oh, good, I have 5 more minutes. I'll keep checking my email, or, oh, maybe I'll just go finish up that last errand I needed to run and I'll be over here and I'll come back. Like we kind of go away, right? Because we're thinking, oh, they're good.
Oh, totally. I'm going to catch up on my email now. When kids are throwing things or older siblings are hurting or bullying their younger siblings, when there's belittling or name calling or buttons being pushed or fighting like cats and dogs, or kids aren't sharing and so on and so forth, what do? Raise your hand if you're likely to intervene in some way when you hear or witness some of this behavior. Right? So we have our kids doing what we want them to do, and we're busy catching up on emails. We have kids getting up to unwanted behavior, and we swoop in, and what that does is it feeds the behavior. 99% of the time, the sibling rivalry is a super effective way, if nothing else, to fulfill that sense of belonging. Oh yeah, I'm here and mom and dad are here and giving me some attention.
And even though it's negative attention, it's still feeding that need for attention. So what we want to think about is what we feed flourishes. So if we're feeding the positive, we're going to flourish the positive. If we're feeding the negative, so it's flourishing. So, but then we're not suggesting that we just, leave them to like murder each other, but we are, so we're going to offer some tools and strategies in a minute, but we're just throwing out this idea that now that we have this notion that if kids are looking to be connected, how are we giving them a chance to show up? So, we have let's see, am I jumping ahead or are we on the right slide?
Nope, I'm trying to share my slide, but for some reason, let's try that again. New share. I'm trying to share it. There we go. This should do it. The handout.
Thanks. So we've got on the handout that we gave you, and now we're sharing it. We've got a couple of strategies in the moment for what we can do when our kids are doing some rivalry stuff. And we have strategies for out of the moment, what you can do. To read this over. And maybe you have it in hand and you can just read it this way. And then you might, if you'd like to, you could put a check next to one you already do, a question mark next to one you're wondering what's that mean? Maybe a heart next to one you want to try next. Is everybody following me on the annotation tools? So you can just go ahead and play with this a little and feel free to write up this piece of paper.
I was going to mention too, if annotating is just not happening for you today based on your device or whatever connectivity issues, you're welcome to read over the handout and put in the chat either an insight or, like Margie's saying, but we practice this, but I haven't tried that, or I have more questions about this. You're welcome to do that as well.
But we'll just give you let's just set a little timer. We're gonna give you just a minute to read those over and think about a few of them.
And Margie, are we looking at the preventative measures as well at this point?
Sure. Yeah, we can look at, I'm inviting you to read all the options. So in the moment and then outside of the moment, preventative things. All right, in just about 20 more seconds. And just 5 more seconds. Okay, great. So I see, for some reason, this document's not showing up perfectly for me, but I see under preventative measures, I see a check and some hearts next to strengthen the connection between parent and child. And that tool there is special time, which is a time where you give each child one-on-one time. And you set it up, put it on the calendar, and every week they get time with you. And so that's a really good outside of the moment way to build their bank so that they don't need connection in ways that aren't as useful.
And Margie, I'm noticing a question mark by labels, limit and provide a role that a child either lives into or needs to fight against. Either way, limits are limiting. So I think that it's useful to remember, especially when it comes to kiddos who are fighting, it can be instinctual even when there's a little kid and a bigger kid, that the little kid is very often labeled as the victim and the older kid is the aggressor. And I'm an oldest, so this comes to me honestly. But we have a habit oftentimes as parents to pigeonhole kids. And so the oldest is always the perpetrator. And so we might launch into correcting our oldest behavior. And that's not useful, especially because we don't have all of the information. I see that his hand is raised.
Hello there. So I have a son who has near constant need for attention. And and he does do exactly this. He picks the fights to get more attention, and it's insatiable. Like we tag team paying attention to him. I don't know if you have any suggestions on, he doesn't self-entertain. So I don't know if you have any ideas of how to deal with someone who's just kind of on the extreme of needing to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have some thoughts, I'm sure Dara does too. One thought that comes up for me is when a kid is constantly needing to be the center, it might be that he's decided, as long as I'm the center of attention, I'm good, I belong. So it's not that kids, we are all self-defined, like we decide these things. It's not like you did anything wrong or anybody, but kids, somehow along the way, he made up that assumption that if I'm the middle of attention, I'm good. Like I know you see me, but if I'm on the outside or I'm not sure I belong here, right? So we want to help him come up with a new idea. It could be it could be a little coaching at the beginning, like when we're sitting, sometimes it's useful to listen to other people and coaching them how to do that, like how to ask questions, how to be curious about other people, how to like notice. I noticed when you were talking, somebody else had an idea, but they didn't get a chance to say it. Like just giving him some coaching around that is what I'm wondering. It might be it would be like news to him, like he wouldn't be aware that he's doing that. And then I would totally schedule, like, and here's the funny one, 10 minutes a day. If you just put on the calendar, 10 minutes a day of special time, one-on-one time, where you just sit down next to him and you're not doing anything in particular. I just want to be in your world, I'm with you. And you have your screen away, you don't answer the phone, you say, this is my time to be just with this kid right now. And you set a timer. And then the timer goes off, you say, I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. But just giving him that, like, kind of really just, I'm in your space, I'm with you. Maybe it's just hanging out together, maybe it's playing a game, just be with him in whatever way he wants. And literally 8 minutes, if you can't fit, like just give it a little time, but just saying it, doing it, setting a timer really feeds that kind of a need. And then I don't know, the coaching part, I think he might find that useful. Like you could think about, what could you do to make sure everybody in this room is able to have their voice, or like giving him a role that's useful for getting everybody connected, helping him find a different way. Dara, do you have any ideas to add to that, or anything come up for you?
You gave it the same answer I would.
Okay.
I'm just capturing it in the chat.
Great. Another thing I noticed about the labels part, and I there's a typo I saw because I wrote limits are limiting, labels are limiting, either way. So sorry about that. But the labels, also we do this around things, like we go, oh, this is my smart one, this is my musical one, this is my theatrical one, here's my jock, like we kind of we limit ourselves and we limit our kids for how they can show up. And the funny thing is that creates, even if somebody might be naturally a little more talented in one area, it creates a feeling of less than for others. So it's nice to just say, I notice everybody here is really trying to, kick the ball into the net, or I see everybody really, practicing their music, even though one might be on a piece that's much higher level than the other. It's more just noticing we're a family that tries these things, or I notice everybody. So like, instead of limiting or labeling people in one way, just notice what's useful and moving towards the right direction. So that's where that labels piece, we want to be super conscious. Or there's even like, sometimes we'll do this, we'll say, we label our kids by their birth order. Here's my oldest, this is my middle, here's my baby, and notice even when you say that, it's like my baby, like and the baby often is the power role because they're the one that's in the middle a lot of times. So just getting rid of that and saying, here are the people that make our family a cool place to be, and like not labeling or limiting what role we might have to play in any given moment. So that's the labels piece too.
So I'm noticing, Margie, a question mark, keep them in the same boat. So I love this one. I use it a lot with my two boys. The idea is that we're a team. And so it helps to interrupt, oh, you're the perpetrator and you're the victim, and swooping in and trying to be judge and jury, and taking us out from the triangle of us trying to control things. And we're all in the same boat. We're all on a team. And I'm hearing a lot of fighting in here. So both of you boys can go to your rooms, or both of you boys can head outside or quiet down. So when we set the stage like that, then we're preventing ourselves from labeling and pigeonholing anyone. And we're also making sure that we remember we're all on the same team.
Yeah. Or everybody can clean this mess up. You know, even if it was one person more messy than the other, you know, like we're all on the same team. We all clean up. We all help out. We all. So if you're going to go to the route of a consequence in the middle of a, you know, that's an option sometimes. If you're going to take that route, make sure everybody gets the same one. That's the same boat. Yeah, it's really good. Thanks.
And then I don't know if you can see on your screen, but there's a question mark. Looks like by family meetings.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a great one.
And we actually have we do a whole class, and in that class we build up how to do family meetings. So we'll be offering a new one in the fall if that's something of interest to you. Family meetings is, in a nutshell, it's a time every week your family gets together for 20 minutes, and we can give a quick summary. We can send out an email with a little description of how to do that. And we have some blogs on our website that describe it too. Essentially, you have a time where everybody gets a chance to appreciate each other, you know, give compliments or just share something they appreciate. You have a chance for everybody to answer a question or something of interest, plan a family fun activity, and also work on any challenges in the family that you're facing. And you want to keep that, we have some strategies and tools that help keep that concise. But the idea is that we meet together every week, and we're a family that meets, and we see each other, and we, you know, anyway, that's the short version of family meeting.
Beautiful. And you can see how it builds up all 4 of those C's in that one little swoop. So I'm going to go back to, we're going to give you the opportunity, as we've mentioned, to practice one of these strategies. So we're going to ask for you to choose a strategy you'd like to try on for size. And then we're going to put you into a breakout room. I'm hoping I'm sharing the right screen here. Is that okay? Good. And you'll have an opportunity with a partner to try it on for size. If you prefer not to go into a breakout room, you can put an equal sign in front of your Zoom name, and we will keep you in the main room. But we want to give you a quick preview of what that's going to look like. So what we want you to do is, one parent will describe the unwanted sibling rivalry that they're experiencing and the strategy that they'd like to try on. And then we actually want you to role play what it might sound like putting your kids in the same boat, or what it might sound like not labeling your kids. And so we're going to demonstrate what that will look like, so you have an idea before you go into the breakout room.
Just before the breakout room, Dara, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we also had a question on the last.
Oh, okay.
Which is what?
Oh,
is
special plate.
Special plate. I didn't want to skip over that.
Thank you, Laura.
I will. We can share out a really fun article about special plate, but the short version of special plate is. Sorry, did I interrupt you, Dara? Is that
No, go ahead.
All right. So the short version is that at meal times, maybe at dinner, every night at dinner, one person gets a special, like slightly different fork or a slightly different glass, or maybe a different placemat or something that, you know, a different plate. Some families go and they go to the pottery stores and make your own plate, and they'll make one and it'll be the special plate. And each night a different person has it at their spot. The only thing that it does at dinner is it means that we start the meal by going around and just saying one thing that we appreciate about that person that week. So you're just giving a little appreciation. You just go once around. It's important to make some boundaries around it, because kids love it so much. They're like, let's go for another round. You know, like they just love it. And when you sit down, it's like your night to get it. You can't believe how excited people are. So you just want to say, we just go around once. Everybody gets a chance to say one thing they appreciate. And then we move on to other topics of dinner. You know, like we'll talk about what people did today and have the fun conversation we normally have. So, but you just start off your meal with appreciating. And so that's called special plate. And we, for a time, we actually had a chart on the wall because people were so anxious that we wouldn't miss their night. We made sure it was clear whose night was which night, Monday or Tuesday or Thursday, you know, so
Nice.
anyway, it can be a special thing, and you could find that it works, goes really well for like a summertime fall activity. And then it might stop for a while, then you'll remember it again and say, let's start doing that again. Because you'll notice people really calm down when that happens consistently.
It's a really encouraging strategy.
Yeah.
So for the breakout room exercise, Margie and I are going to demonstrate. So the synopsis is, my boys were 6 and 8 years old at the time, and they played all sorts of inventive ways of doing baseball in the house. But eventually it would come to pass after an hour while I was busy checking my email and catching up on things. Invariably, they would lash out at each other. They would have a play. No one would agree. There would be a lot of yelling. So the strategy that I would like to try is showing and expressing confidence in their ability to resolve the issue respectfully. So Margie, you ready to try this on for size? Okay, so
Yeah.
you're channeling a 6 and 8 year old boys.
Okay.
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 So I'm imagining it's a calm time like at breakfast, and I might say something like, Miles and Evan, I know 2 boys who are resourceful enough to figure out how to play baseball inside the house using a napkin and a fork. I bet that you are also creative enough to settle your own disputes, especially because whenever I try and settle them for you, we all end up crying. So I trust that you have what it takes to come up with a better solution other than fighting. I'm going to have my headphones on, but if you need me and if you need my help, you can let me know. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. How did that land for you, Margie?
It actually was encouraging because I heard you sort of express some confidence in me and my ability. And then you also showed that you weren't going to get in the way. So I had a little bit of curiosity about that. And then I was like, I wonder how loud I can get before she actually does get involved and see what happens. Like, so part of me was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then the other part of me was thinking, like, feeling kind of like, that's cool. Yeah. You know, my mom really thinks I got it together. Maybe I do. You know?
It's so funny you're saying that, because when I did this with my boys 7 some odd years ago, they did get louder and louder. So I kept, and I really had to resist the urge to swoop in, but I kept turning up the volume. It's interesting that you touched onto that. And eventually they rose to the occasion and invented a completely new rule to obviate the need for scuffling. And they wouldn't have had that opportunity to rise to the occasion had I kept swooping in. So I'm really grateful for that possibility. So before we put you into the breakout rooms, any questions you have?
So what it'll look like is you'll get a chance to share your scenario like Dara did, then share what strategy you're going to try to use to meet it in a new way and try out the strategy. And so just share how you're going to say it and invite the person that's hearing to tell you what it feels like to them. And it might be you want to think about, you know, they'll give you some, you know, but it's not a time for us to say, oh, Dara, let me tell you how to parent your 6 and 8 year old, you know, like we're not going to give each other advice. We're just really receiving and telling how it feels. And then we get a chance to share ours and what we're going to try. So we're kind of going to be inspiring each other and also sort of helping each other practice the muscles. Go ahead.
Well, my question is, and I was referring to when I taught school and I was on the school ground seeing 2 kids, and of course you always catch the end result. So my philosophy was always, well, there's a reason for that behavior. So thinking about the antecedent, what caused that behavior? So my question is it important to go and rehash that and ask for the antecedent? Or is it just important to go and state like what you see? I see 2 children having a hard time. What do you recommend?
I can say that when I haven't been on a school ground working as a teacher, but as a parent, I constantly was trying to figure out what happened. I was constantly judge and jury, and that's why we all ended up crying, because nobody liked my verdicts. So I think it's way more useful to be, here's what I'm seeing now. I'm seeing 2 boys whose fists are raised. I see flushed faces. People look like they're having big feelings, and we don't hit. How can we express those feelings in a way that is going to be useful? We didn't talk about the wheel of choice.
Yeah. So one of the tools that I was just thinking of too is, again, there's this wheel of choice, and we have an image of it, a slide.
Yep, I'll find it.
Thanks, Tara. That there's this wheel of choice, and in that you could sit down together with your family and create, what are your options when things aren't going well and you're at a loss for what to do? What are your choices? And we can come up together with a bunch of choices. Here's an example. My daughter drew this one of different examples of what we can do in a given moment. So like, there's like getting into the feeling, like naming the feelings that you see that you're having, and guessing the feeling for the other person. It's always an option to, you can, and there's training on things like check-in, like, are you okay? What can I do to help? Like teaching them how to make things better, how to fix things. So they have all these options, and then you might just walk by and say, it looks like a time for the wheel of choice. Do you guys want to make a choice here for what you might do? You know, so you can, but again, taking ourselves out of, we don't need to solve it for them. And very often both people are collaborating. You can even look at rivalry as a collaboration. It's like a collaboration for getting the parent involved, for figuring out, a lot of times it's to reinforce that the one who is often the good one, you might find them nudging the one who's the annoying one and getting them, and then pushing, and then it always makes the good one look good at the end. Like it's these games that they play, right? And so when we get into who did what, it's really complicated. So it's better to say, I love both of you, you're both dear, or all three of you are dear, or all 10 of you are dear. And what are you going to do to solve this problem? And I look forward to special time with each one of you, like I'll be in my room, until 3 o'clock when it's our time, so giving them useful time and giving them confidence is kind of. So welcome back, everybody. And the idea was, what was it like for you? And we just want to hear from maybe 2 people. What were you feeling? What was the need behind the feeling? How was it going when you tried out the new ideas? Anybody have anything that came up for them? What's that like? Sorry, there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I find that I don't feel fast on my feet, and so sometimes when the stuff happens, I like my brain seems to freeze or go to mush as to what to do, and particularly how to implement strategies that may be new, and why I would stick with the same thing that I've already tried 100 times. So I found that in the role play we had, I ended up, when it was my turn to help out with a strategy that might work, I feel like, oh, I had to think fast, and I wasn't thinking very fast. So
I love that you're noticing that. And I remember when my kids were really little one time, and I didn't know what to do, but I was frustrated and I could feel myself wanting to like yell or do something. I took a deep breath and I said, I'm so frustrated. I'm going to take a deep breath and step outside. I'll be right back. Because I didn't know what to do. And very few things need to be solved in the moment, right? My kids were really little, and it was a time when you wouldn't normally leave your children. They were so young, you wouldn't like leave them, But I was like, I'll just step out. I'll still be able to see the house. Like, I'm not going to go around the corner, So I just stepped outside, took some deep breaths, walked up and down the sidewalk right in front of our house. And I look back at the house and I see both of my kids looking out the window like, what's she doing? So it totally stopped whatever was going on. And I took some deep breaths and I came back in and I had some ideas. I was like, okay, what can we do? That wasn't working, and I was able to just like be calmer. So sometimes it's really good to acknowledge, I'm not going to do the right thing in the moment. And I'm so upset. And you're modeling for your kids how you calm yourself down before you respond to stuff, which is brilliant, to do. That's a great skill in life, right? It's good to notice. Is there one more? Anybody else have one that came up for them, or a question, or an aha or anything?
I'm just noting our time too, Margie. I'm wondering if we move on, if anybody did want to stay for a couple of minutes after or that they could.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. So,
yeah, we just quickly want to acknowledge these are the resources that inspired, and we're going to send this out in an email, but we wanted to also acknowledge and give a shout out to the Parent Encouragement Program, which is out of Kensington, Maryland, which is where Margie and I ultimately met So thank you to PEP.
Yeah.
And then also we have some things we'd like to let you know about, ways to stay connected and keep learning with Family Leadership Center. So in the fall, Margie and Dara will be teaching some courses. These are longer form, where you'd be connected with the same group of parents over several weeks. The topics are Foundations of Family Leadership, which is our core course that we offer. And also we're doing a teens class, Solving the Mystery of Parenting Teens. So if those are interesting to you, you can go to our website. We're going to have another workshop like this one in August. The topic will be back to school and empowering and encouraging our kids to make that transition well. And then we also offer one-on-one coaching. So if you find that you're dealing with something and you'd like, to discuss that one-on-one with somebody, we do offer that. And all of that is available through our website, which is familyleadershipcenter.org. And then the last thing to say about us, if you didn't know this already, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are really thrilled to be able to offer these programs free of charge to participants through the generosity of our community. So if making a donation is something that would be meaningful to you, just know that any amount that you can give would be thoughtfully stewarded and greatly, greatly appreciated.
One thing I want to add, that the one-on-one coaching, we do charge for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the workshops, the courses, all of that is offered to the community, to large groups. Perfect. So thank you so much. And we're really glad you were here.